Dr. James Mercer stood in the rain, cardboard box in his arms, watching as security escorted him from Memorial General Hospital. Inside that box, 7 years of dedication, a framed photo of his daughter Emma, and the stethoscope his late wife had given him before cancer took her. 20 minutes earlier, hospital administrator Victoria Wells had called him incompetent, unprofessional, and a liability, all because he'd missed an administrative meeting to take his daughter to her school play. As the rain soaked through his white coat, James never imagined that in less than 24 hours, 3 military helicopters would land on that same hospital lawn, desperately searching for the doctor they'd just thrown away. If this story of redemption, second chances, and standing up for what truly matters resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that remind us of our shared humanity. James Mercer had been walking a tightrope for 3 years since his wife Diana's death. At 38, he balanced being both mother and father to 8-year-old Emma, while maintaining his position as one of Memorial General's most respected emergency physicians. The hospital had been understanding at first. Colleagues covered shifts, the chief of medicine made allowances. But that changed when Victoria Wells took over administration 6 months ago. The rain was relentless as James drove home, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. His phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Patel, their elderly neighbor who watched Emma after school. "Emma's asking when you'll be home. She wants to practice her lines again." James smiled despite everything. Tomorrow was Emma's school play. She had the lead role as Amelia Earhart. She'd been practicing for weeks, determined to make her mother proud from heaven. James had requested the afternoon off months ago, approved by his previous supervisor, but apparently forgotten in the transition to Wells's administration. "Tell her I'll be home in 20 minutes. Pizza night. The small apartment they'd moved to after Diana's medical bills forced them to sell their house was modest but warm. Emma sat at the kitchen table, script in hand, her dark curls, so like her mother's, falling across her face as she concentrated. "Daddy!" she launched herself at him. "Mrs. Patel helped me with my costume. Want to see?" For the next hour, James forgot about Victoria Wells and her cold dismissal. He forgot about the job search he'd need to start tomorrow. He forgot about the mortgage payment due next week. Instead, he was just a dad watching his daughter transform into a pioneering aviator, her eyes shining with the same determination Diana had always shown. After Emma went to bed, James sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, updating his resume. His phone rang. Dr. Liam Chen, his closest friend at Memorial. "James, what the hell happened? The rumor mill is going crazy." James sighed. "Wells happened. She called me in this morning, said I'd missed too many meetings, that my personal issues were affecting my work. When I reminded her about Emma's play tomorrow, she said I needed to sort out my priorities. I told her my daughter would always be my priority. And she fired you for that?" Liam sounded incredulous. "She said, and I quote, 'Single parents simply can't handle the demands of emergency medicine. Perhaps a clinic position would better suit your situation.' Then she had security walk me out like I was some kind of criminal." Liam was silent for a moment. "That's discrimination, James. You should fight this." "With what money, Liam? I need to find another job, not get caught in a legal battle I can't afford to lose." After hanging up, James checked his bank account, 3 months of savings if he was careful. He'd have to cancel Emma's summer camp, maybe even piano lessons. The thought of disappointing her again made his chest ache. The next morning, James put on a brave face as he made Emma's favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes shaped like airplanes. "Are you coming to my play today, Daddy?" Emma asked, drowning her pancakes in syrup. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away," James promised, ruffling her hair. He didn't tell her that he no longer had a job to rush back to afterward. After dropping Emma at school, James spent the morning sending out resumes to every hospital and clinic within commuting distance. By noon, he had changed into his one good suit and was heading to Emma's school, determined that at least today would be perfect for her. The elementary school auditorium was packed with parents clutching programs and smartphones. James found a seat near the front, nodding to other parents he recognized. The principal, Mrs. Gonzalez, approached him with a concerned smile. "Dr. Mercer, I heard what happened at the hospital. I'm so sorry." News traveled fast in their small community. Thank you, but today's about Emma. I don't want anything to overshadow her moment. The lights dimmed, and the play began. When Emma walked onto the stage in her aviator jacket and goggles, James felt his throat tighten. She delivered her lines flawlessly, her voice strong and clear as she spoke about courage and following dreams. In that moment, she was so much like Diana that James had to wipe away tears. As the play ended and the children took their bows, James's phone vibrated in his pocket. He ignored it. Nothing was more important than this moment. It vibrated again and again. Finally, as parents began to disperse and children ran to find their families, he checked it. 17 missed calls, 10 from Liam, the rest from various Memorial General numbers. A text from Liam read, "Call me immediately, emergency." James's heart raced as he dialed Liam's number, fearing something had happened to his friend. "James, thank God!" Liam's voice was breathless. "Where are you?" "At Emma's school." "What's wrong?" "There's been a massive chemical spill at the Westridge industrial plant. Multiple casualties, chemical burns, respiratory distress. They're bringing them to Memorial, but..." Liam lowered his voice. "Wells is falling apart. She's never handled a mass casualty, and the toxicology specialist is at a conference in Denver. That's not my problem anymore, Liam." James spotted Emma emerging from backstage, still in costume, scanning the crowd for him. "James, listen to me. The National Guard has been activated. This is bigger than Wells, bigger than your firing. These are chemical weapons researchers, James. The compounds they were working with, we need someone who understands the protocols." James froze. Before specializing in emergency medicine, he'd spent 4 years as a military physician working with chemical exposure victims. It was why Memorial had hired him in the first place. "The CDC is sending a team, but they're hours away. People are dying, James." Emma spotted him and waved excitedly, weaving through the crowd. "I have Emma with me, Liam. I can't just bring her. Mrs. Gonzalez's husband is our head nurse. She can stay with them in the administrative wing." "James, please." Emma reached him, her face flushed with excitement. "Did you see me, Daddy? Was I good?" James knelt down to her level. "You were amazing, sweetheart. The best Amelia Earhart ever." He took a deep breath. "Emma, there's an emergency at the hospital. People are hurt, and they need my help." Her smile faded slightly, but then she nodded with a seriousness beyond her years. "Like when Mommy got sick and other doctors helped her?" "Exactly like that." James felt a surge of pride at her understanding. "You'll need to come with me, but you'll stay with Mr. Gonzalez where it's safe. Is that okay?" Emma nodded solemnly. "I'll bring my book." The scene at Memorial General was chaos. Ambulances lined the emergency bay, paramedics rushing stretchers through the doors, National Guard trucks had established a perimeter, and men in hazmat suits were setting up decontamination tents in the parking lot. James parked in his old spot out of habit. As he helped Emma from the car, the distinctive whump 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 of helicopter rotors filled the air. 3 military helicopters were circling, preparing to land on the hospital's helipad. "Cool," Emma whispered, clutching her backpack. James led her through the staff entrance, where they were immediately met by Nurse Gonzalez. "Dr. Mercer, thank God!" The normally composed nurse looked frazzled. "My wife said you'd be bringing Emma. I'll take her to the administrative conference room. We've set up movies and snacks for staff children." James knelt to hug Emma. "Be good, okay? I'll come check on you as soon as I can." "Go help people, Daddy," she said, squeezing him tight before taking Nurse Gonzalez's hand. As James turned toward the emergency department, he nearly collided with Victoria Wells. The administrator's perfectly styled hair was coming loose, her designer suit wrinkled. For a moment they stared at each other in silence. "Dr. Mercer." Her voice was stiff. "I didn't expect to see you here. Dr. Chen called me. I understand you have chemical exposure victims." Wells' composure cracked slightly. "The situation is under control." From behind her, Liam appeared, now wearing scrubs stained with what looked like blood and something yellow. "Like hell it is. We have 27 patients, most in respiratory distress, 3 in cardiac arrest, and we don't even know what they were exposed to because the company is claiming it's classified." Wells shot him a venomous look. Dr. Chen, return to your patients. Not without James, he's the only one here with experience in military-grade chemical exposures. A commotion at the emergency entrance drew their attention. A team of paramedics rushed in with a stretcher, a man in a lab coat writhing in pain, his skin covered in angry red blisters. That's Dr. Harrington, the lead researcher, one. Paramedics shouted. He says it's compound XR27, some kind of experimental nerve agent antidote that became unstable. James didn't wait for Wells' permission. He moved toward the stretcher, already calling out orders. Get him to Trauma 1, start a lactated Ringers 4, and bring me atropine and pralidoxime. And get me hazmat suits for anyone working directly with these patients. To his surprise, the medical team immediately responded to his commands, ignoring Wells' presence entirely. The administrator stood frozen, watching as James took control of the situation that had clearly overwhelmed her. For the next 4 hours, James worked without stopping. He established protocols for treating the different levels of exposure, coordinated with the CDC team when they arrived, and personally attended to the most critical patients. His military training kicked in, allowing him to remain calm and focused amid the chaos. During a brief moment between patients, James slipped away to check on Emma. He found her in the conference room, reading to 2 younger children while Mr. Gonzalez supervised. "Daddy!" She ran to him, stopping short when she saw his exhausted face. "Are you saving people?" "We're trying, sweetheart." He kissed the top of her head. "Are you okay here for a little longer?" She nodded bravely. "I'm helping Mr. Gonzalez with the little kids. I read them my Amelia Earhart book." James returned to the emergency department with renewed determination. As he approached the nurses' station, he overheard Wells speaking with a military officer in uniform. "We have the situation under control, Colonel," she was saying, her voice betraying her nervousness. The colonel, a stern-faced woman with silver hair, looked skeptical. "Ms. Wells, we have reports of improper decontamination procedures and delayed treatment protocols. The Pentagon is concerned about potential long-term effects on these researchers. They're working on classified defense projects vital to national security. I assure you, Administrator Wells," James interrupted, addressing the colonel directly. "I'm Dr. James Mercer, former captain, U.S. Army Medical Corps. I've established CBRN protocols based on my experience with similar agents in Afghanistan. All patients have been properly decontaminated, and we're administering the appropriate counteragents." The colonel's eyebrows rose. "Captain Mercer, I've read your paper on field treatment of organophosphate exposures. Didn't realize you were at Memorial now." "He's not," Wells said quickly. "Dr. Mercer no longer works here." The colonel looked confused. "Then why is he running your emergency response?" Before Wells could answer, alarms blared from one of the trauma rooms. James rushed in to find Dr. Harrington, the lead researcher in ventricular fibrillation. For the next 20 minutes, James led the resuscitation effort, finally stabilizing the man whose knowledge of the compound was their best hope for treating the others. When James emerged, exhausted but successful, he found the colonel in heated conversation with Victoria Wells and the hospital's board chairman, who had apparently been called in. "Absolutely unacceptable," the colonel was saying. "You fired your only physician with CBRN training the day before a chemical weapons research accident? Do you have any idea of the liability issues here?" The chairman, a distinguished older man named Dr. Harrison, looked grim. "Colonel, I assure you this is the first I'm hearing of Dr. Mercer's termination. Our board has a strict policy regarding accommodations for employees with family responsibilities." Wells's face had lost all color. "Dr. Mercer's performance issues were non-existent," Liam interrupted, joining the group. "I have his patient satisfaction scores and outcome metrics for the past 3 years. They're exemplary. What he did have was a school play to attend for his daughter after his wife died of cancer." Dr. Harrison turned to Wells with a dangerous calm. "Victoria, my office, now." He then approached James. "Dr. Mercer, on behalf of Memorial General, I apologize profoundly for this situation. Your position here is secure if you want it, with whatever accommodations you need for your family responsibilities." James was too tired to process the reversal of fortune. Right now, I just need to make sure these patients are stable. We can discuss my employment status later. The colonel nodded approvingly. Captain Mercer, the Pentagon will be very interested in consulting with you on the protocols you've established today. We may have more victims at other facilities who were exposed to similar compounds. By midnight, the crisis had stabilized. All patients were either recovering or in stable condition. The CDC team had taken over monitoring, and the emergency department was returning to normal operations. James, having worked nearly 12 hours straight, finally allowed himself to sit down in the doctor's lounge. Liam brought him a cup of coffee. You saved a lot of lives today. We all did, James said, accepting the coffee gratefully. Emma's asleep in the on-call room. Mrs. Gonzalez is with her. James nodded, too exhausted to move yet. Thank you for calling me, Liam. Thank you for coming. Liam hesitated. Harrison fired Wells, effective immediately. Apparently the board had been looking for a reason, and discrimination against a single parent who's also a widower was the last straw. James should have felt vindicated, but he just felt tired. I don't know if I want to come back, Liam. The way she treated me, making me feel like being a good father was incompatible with being a good doctor, which is why Harrison wants to offer you Wells's job. James nearly choked on his coffee. What? Medical administrator? You'd oversee emergency services, set your own schedule, and make twice what you were making as an attending. Harrison said, and I quote, "We need someone who understands both medicine and humanity." Before James could respond, the door opened and Emma appeared, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Daddy, are you done saving people?" James opened his arms, and she climbed into his lap, resting her head against his chest. "For tonight, sweetheart, for tonight." 3 months later, James stood on the hospital's helipad, watching as a helicopter landed. Emma stood beside him, holding his hand, her hair blowing in the rotor wash. "Is this the special doctor you told me about, Daddy?" she shouted over the noise. "Yes, the one who's going to help us set up our new chemical response unit." As the helicopter powered down, a woman in a military uniform emerged, carrying a briefcase. Colonel Hayes had kept her promise to involve James in developing national protocols for chemical exposure treatment. Memorial General had changed dramatically in the past 3 months. As medical administrator, James had implemented family-friendly policies for all staff, established a childcare center in the unused wing of the hospital, and created flexible scheduling that allowed medical professionals to balance their work with their family responsibilities. The hospital board had been so impressed with the changes that they'd featured James and Emma in their new advertising campaign, Memorial General, where compassion meets excellence. The photo showed James in his white coat with his arm around Emma, both smiling beneath the hospital sign. More importantly, James had found balance. He was home for dinner with Emma most nights. He never missed a school event, and on the anniversary of Diana's death, the entire hospital staff had covered for